The ship landed on Station Orinth at exactly 6 in the morning. Park Yuna stood near the window and watched the massive space station grow larger. It was beautiful in a cold way. Metal and glass stretched across the darkness of space like a frozen city. She was one of 12 human students chosen for the Galactic Unity Academy. It was a great honor. That is what everyone told her. Humanity had finally earned a seat at the table. After years of war, after all the death, they were finally allowed to study with the aliens who had once tried to destroy them. Yuna did not feel honored. She felt tired that the other human students wore neat civilian clothes. They smiled and talked about the future. They were young, most of them. They had not seen the war up close. They had watched it on screens, safe in the inner colonies. Yuna was different. She wore black combat armor. It was old and scratched. The paint had faded in some places, but every seal worked. Every plate fit perfectly. She had worn this armor for 6 years. She would not stop now. When the ship doors opened, the smell of recycled air filled her lungs. A Korean official stood waiting to greet them. He was tall, almost 3 meters. His skin was pale and scaled like a lizard. His eyes were yellow with thin black slits. The Koreans. Yuna kept her face empty as she looked at him. 6 years ago, his people had burned her world. Now she was supposed to shake his hand and call him friend. She walked past him without a word. The academy was large and clean. Students from many species filled the halls. There were the Mirith, quiet insect-like beings with gentle eyes. There were the Vaughn, short and covered in thick fur. And there were the Koreans. So many Koreans. They looked at Yuna as she passed. Their eyes moved over her armor with confusion and disgust. She heard their whispers. Why does she wear that? Humans are so strange. Is she trying to start a fight? Yuna ignored them. She found her room, a small space with a bed and a desk. She set down her bag and sat on the bed. The armor felt heavy on her shoulders. It always did. But she would not take it off. Not here. Not among them. The first day of classes came quickly. Yuna walked into the interspecies ethics hall and found a seat near the back. The room was large, shaped like a circle. Students sat on rising platforms around a central stage. The instructor was a Korean elder named Veth. He had gray scales and moved slowly, but his eyes were sharp. When he saw Yuna, something flickered across his face. It was gone in a moment, but she had seen it. Disgust. Welcome to interspecies ethics, Veth said. His voice was deep and smooth. This class will teach you how to live together, how to understand each other, how to build a future without war. He looked around the room. His gaze stopped on Yuna. We leave our conflicts at the door. We leave our weapons. We leave our hate. Some Korean students turned to look at her. A few smiled. Yuna said nothing. She opened her notebook and waited for the lesson to begin. Days passed. Then weeks. Yuna attended every class. She completed every assignment. She ate alone in the dining hall, her armor still covering her body. She slept in her armor. She showered quickly and dressed. Again, before anyone could see. The whispers grew louder. She thinks she is better than us. She wants to remind us of the war. Typical human arrogance. One student was louder than the others. His name was Tarek. He was young for a Korean, maybe the same age as Yuna, but he carried himself like a prince. His father was General Varth, one of the greatest Korean military leaders. Yuna knew that name. She knew it very well. Look at her, Tarek said one day in the dining hall. He did not bother to lower his voice. Hiding in her little shell. Do humans always need metal to feel brave? His friends laughed. Yuna kept eating. Maybe she is scared, Tarek continued. Maybe without the armor, She is nothing. Yuna finished her food. She stood up, cleaned her tray, and walked out. She did not look at him, but her hands were shaking under her gauntlets. Only one person treated her with kindness. Her name was Lisa. She was Mirith, with large dark eyes and thin arms that moved like branches in wind. She sat next to Yuna in ethics class and sometimes nodded in greeting. One evening, Lisa found Yuna sitting alone in the station garden. It was a small room filled with plants from many worlds. Yuna liked it there. It was quiet. "May I sit?" Lisa asked. Yuna nodded. They sat in silence for a while. Then Lisa spoke. "Why do you wear the armor? If you do not mind me asking." Yuna looked at her. Lisa's eyes held no judgment. "Only curiosity." "It is not for you," Yuna said quietly. "It is for me." Lisa tilted her head but did not push further. They sat together until the lights dimmed for night cycle. The next morning, Instructor Veth made an announcement. "The Academy has decided on a new rule," he said. "Starting tomorrow, all students must wear standard neutral clothing during classes. This will promote equality and unity among species." He looked directly at Yuna. "No exceptions." The Korean student smiled. Tarek leaned back in his seat, satisfied. Yuna sat very still. Her heart beat hard inside her chest. But her face showed nothing. She had known this moment would come. She had prepared for it, but that did not make it easier. The new rule spread through the academy like fire. Everyone talked about it. Everyone knew who it was meant for. Yuna walked through the halls the next day, still wearing her armor. Students stopped and stared. Some whispered. Some laughed. She kept walking. In ethics class, Instructor Veth watched her enter. His yellow eyes followed her to her seat. He did not say anything at first. He taught the lesson as normal. But at the end, he spoke. "Cadet Park." Yuna looked up. "You are still wearing combat armor." "Yes. The new rule was announced yesterday." "Did you not understand it?" "I understood it." Veth's scales shifted slightly. A sign of anger among Koreans. "Then why do you ignore it?" Yuna kept her voice calm. "I have filed for medical accommodation. Human law allows this." The room went quiet. Veth stared at her for a long moment. "Medical accommodation," he repeated slowly. "For wearing armor." "Yes." "And what medical condition requires you to dress like a soldier in a place of learning?" Yuna did not answer. She simply looked at him with steady eyes. Veth's jaw tightened. "We will discuss this further." Class is dismissed. The students filed out. As Yuna passed Tarek, he stepped in front of her. His friends gathered behind him. "Medical accommodation," Tarek said with a smile. "Very clever. But we all know the truth." Yuna waited. "You wear that armor because you hate us. You want everyone to remember the war. You cannot accept that it is over." "The war ended 6 years ago," Yuna said quietly. "I remember exactly when it ended." Something in her voice made Tarek pause. But then he laughed. "You humans are so dramatic, always playing the victim. My father told me about your kind. Weak, emotional. You needed metal suits just to fight us." Yuna's hands curled into fists inside her gauntlets. But she did not move. "Excuse me," she said. "I have another class." She walked around him and left. That evening, Nari came to visit Yuna's room. Nari was older than Yuna by a few years. She worked as an aide to the human ambassador. Her job was to make sure the human students did not cause problems. "You need to be careful," Nari said. She stood near the door, arms crossed. "The diplomatic mission depends on us fitting in. If you keep fighting this rule, they might send you home." Yuna sat on her bed, still in armor. "I am not fighting anyone. I am simply existing. You know what I mean." Nari sighed. Why is this so important to you? It is just clothing. It is not just clothing. Then what is it? Yuna looked at her hands. The black gauntlets covered her fingers completely. No one could see what was underneath. It is protection, she said finally. Nari waited for more, but Yuna said nothing else. After a moment, Nari shook her head. I am trying to help you. But if you will not help yourself, there is nothing I can do. She left. Yuna sat alone in the dark. The next few days were difficult. Other human students started avoiding her. They did not want trouble. They wanted to graduate, get good jobs, make humanity look civilized. Yuna understood. She did not blame them, but it still hurt. Tarek grew bolder. He mocked her in every class. He called her a coward hiding in a shell. He said humans were lucky the Koreans had shown mercy during the war. Mercy. The word made Yuna's stomach twist. She remembered mercy. She remembered what it looked like. Burning buildings. Screaming children. Bodies in the streets. That was Korean mercy. But she said nothing. She sat through every insult. She completed every assignment. She never raised her voice. At night, she lay awake and listened to her own breathing. The armor pressed against her skin like a second body. It was uncomfortable. It was heavy. But without it, she felt naked. Without it, everyone would see. On the 5th day, Instructor Veth called her to the front of the class. Your medical accommodation has been reviewed, he said. The academy does not recognize it. Human laws do not apply here. Yuna stood before the entire class. 200 students watched her. Koreans, Mirith, Vaughn, other species she did not even know. You have one more day, Beth continued. Tomorrow you will come to class in proper attire, or you will be expelled. Tarek laughed out loud. His friends joined him. Veth raised a hand for silence. But there was a small smile on his face. This is not punishment, he said. This is unity. All students must be equal. All students must follow the same rules. Yuna looked at him, at his cold yellow eyes, at his scales smooth and perfect. He had never known pain. He had never lost anything. Do you understand? Veth asked. Yuna nodded once. Good. You may return to your seat. She walked back. The room was silent, except for soft laughter from the Korean section. She sat down and opened her notebook. Lysa, sitting nearby, looked at her with worried eyes. Yuna gave her a small nod. It is okay, but it was not okay. That night, Yuna stood in front of her mirror. She looked at her reflection. Black armor. Scratched visor. The face of a soldier. Slowly she reached for the first seal on her chest plate. Her fingers trembled. Tomorrow they would see. Tomorrow everyone would know. She had spent 6 years hiding. She had built walls around herself, walls of metal and silence. She had told herself it was for protection, but maybe it was also fear. She closed her eyes. She thought of her brother, his smile, his laugh, the way he used to hold her hand when he was scared. I am sorry, she whispered. I am so sorry. She did not sleep that night. She sat on her bed and watched the stars through her window. Somewhere out there, Colony Hannah 7 still floated in space. A burned, empty world, her own. Her grave. When morning came, Yuna stood up. She put on her armor one last time. Every piece. Every plate. Then she walked to class. The ethics hall was full when Yuna arrived. Word had spread quickly. Everyone wanted to see the human girl finally break. Students filled every seat. Some stood along the walls. Even cadets from other programs had come. They whispered and pointed as Yuna walked in. Her black armor caught the light. She walked to the front of the room. She did not sit down. Instructor Veth stood on the central stage. His yellow eyes gleamed with satisfaction. Behind him, a large screen displayed the Academy symbol. Unity through understanding. "Cadet Park," Veth said loudly. "You have come to follow the rules, I hope." Una stopped near the stage. She faced him. "Yes." A murmur ran through the crowd. Tarek sat in the front row, smiling widely. His friends nudged each other. Veth nodded slowly. "Good. Then please remove your armor and change into standard clothing. You may use the changing room beside the hall." Una shook her head. "No?" Veth's smile faded. "No? I will remove it here." The room went silent. Students looked at each other in confusion. Veth tilted his head. "Here? In front of everyone?" "Yes." Una's voice was steady. "You wanted unity. You wanted equality. Then let everyone see." Veth hesitated. Something flickered in his eyes. Uncertainty, perhaps. But then he stepped back. "Very well. Proceed." Una turned to face the crowd. 200 pairs of eyes watched. Her, Corian, Mirth, Vaughn, Human, all waiting. She reached for the first seal on her chest plate. The click was loud in the quiet room. She pulled the plate away and set it on the floor. Then the arm. Guards. Click. Click. They fell beside the chest plate. The gauntlets came next. She pulled them off slowly, finger by finger. Her hands appeared. The students in the front row leaned forward. Then they stopped. Una's hands were not normal. The skin was twisted and scarred. The fingers were bent at strange angles, like they had been broken and healed wrong. White and pink ridges covered every inch. She removed the leg plates, the back piece, the shoulder guards. Piece by piece, the armor fell away. Beneath it, Una wore a simple sleeveless shirt and loose trousers. Standard human clothing. But her body was not standard. Burn scars covered her arms like a map of pain. The tissue was melted and ridged, spiraling from her wrists to her shoulders. Her neck was marked with thick ropes of scar tissue. Her collarbone showed patches where the skin had been burned away completely. The room made no sound. No one moved. Una stood straight. She did not hide. She did not look away. "Colony Hana 7, she said. Her voice echoed in the silence. "Corian plasma bombardment. I was 18 years old." She turned slowly, showing her back to the class. The scars there were worse. Much worse. The skin was a twisted landscape of old burns, layer upon layer. But in the center, something stood out. A shape. A small shape, pressed into her flesh like a shadow. The outline of a child's body. Arms, legs, head, burned into her skin forever. "My little brother," Una said quietly. His name was Jihoon. He was 12. She turned back to face the crowd. Her eyes found Tarek in the front row. His face had gone pale. His smile was gone. "When the plasma fire came, I covered him with my body. I held him under me and tried to protect him." Her voice did not shake. "The fire burned through my back. It burned through me. And it burned him too." She took a breath. "He died in my arms. I survived." The silence was absolute. Instructor Veth stood frozen on the stage. His mouth hung slightly open. Una looked at him. "You speak of unity. You speak of leaving the war behind." She raised her scarred hands. "This is what your people did to mine. This is what Corian mercy looks like." She turned to Tarek. "Your father gave the order. General Vorth. He commanded the fleet that attacked Hana 7, a farming colony. No military. Just families." Tarek's hands gripped his seat. His claws left marks in the material. "We begged them to stop," Una continued. "We sent surrender messages. We told them we had no weapons." Her voice finally cracked, just slightly. "They bombed us anyway." She bent down and picked up one piece of her armor. The chest plate. I wear this armor because it reminds me. It reminds me what I survived. It reminds me why I cannot forget. She looked around the room, at all the faces staring at her. I did not come here to cause trouble. I came here to learn, to build a future. She held the chest plate against her scarred chest. But I will not pretend the past did not happen. I will not hide my scars so you can feel comfortable. She began walking toward the door. Her bare feet made soft sounds on the floor. No one tried to stop her. No one said a word. At the door, she paused. She looked back at Instructor Veth. You wanted equality, she said. Now you have seen what equality means. It means looking at the truth, even when it hurts. She walked out. The door closed behind her. In the hall, 200 students sat in complete silence. Tarek stared at the floor. His hands were shaking. Instructor Veth tried to speak. His mouth moved, but no words came out. In the back of the room, Lisa lowered her head. Tears ran down her face. The class was over. No one moved for a very long time. That night, the image of Yuna's scarred body spread through the academy. Students whispered about it in every hall. The story of Hannah 7 was searched and read. Old news reports surfaced. Photographs of the destroyed colony. Lists of the dead. 12,000 people had lived on Hannah 7. Only 2,000 survived. Yuna had been one of them. Her brother had not died in her room. Yuna sat on her bed. Her armor rested on its stand nearby. She looked at her hands, at the twisted skin and broken fingers. For 6 years, she had hidden. For 6 years, she had carried her shame alone. Now everyone knew. Now there was nowhere left to hide. She was not sure if she felt relief or terror. Perhaps both. Outside her window, the stars continued to shine. Somewhere among them, the ashes of Hana 7 drifted in silence, and Park Yuna, for the first time in years, wept. 3 days passed after Yuna showed her scars. She did not leave her room. She ate the food that appeared at her door. She slept when she could. She tried not to think, but the memories came anyway. She remembered the morning of the attack. It had been a normal day on Hana 7. She was studying to become a nurse. Her little brother Ji-hoon was in school. Their mother worked in the greenhouse. Their father maintained the water systems. A normal day. A normal family. Then the sky turned red. The Korean ships appeared without warning. Dozens of them, blocking out the sun. The colony leader sent a message of peace. We are not soldiers, he said. We are farmers. Please, talk to us. The Koreans did not respond. They simply began firing. Yuna remembered running through the streets. Buildings fell around her. People screamed. Fire was everywhere. She found Ji-hoon at the school, hiding under a desk. His face was wet with tears. Where's Mom? He asked. Where's Dad? Yuna did not know. She grabbed his hand and ran. They almost made it to the shelter. They were so close. 20 meters away. Yuna could see the door. Then the plasma strike hit behind them. The heat came first. A wave of burning air that threw them to the ground. Yuna covered Ji-hoon with her body without thinking. She pressed him into the dirt and closed her eyes. The fire passed over them like a river. She remembered screaming. She remembered the smell of burning flesh. She remembered Ji-hoon crying underneath her, then going quiet. When the fire stopped, she could not move. Her back was destroyed. Her hands were melted to the ground. She lay there for hours, covering her brother's body, waiting to die. But she did not die. Human rescue ships arrived the next day. Soldiers pulled her from the ashes. They found Ji-hoon underneath her. His body was small and still. You saved him, one soldier said. You protected him from the worst of it. But Yuna knew the truth. She had not saved him. She had only delayed his death. He had died from smoke, from shock, from the heat that came through her body. She had failed him. Now, 6 years later, she sat in her room and remembered. The memories never stopped. They played in her mind like a broken recording. A knock came at her door. Yuna did not answer. But the door opened anyway. Lysa stood in the doorway. Her dark eyes were soft with concern. "May I come in?" Yuna nodded. Lysa entered and sat on the floor near the bed. She did not speak at first. She simply sat there, keeping Yuna company. "The academy is different now," Lysa said finally. "Everyone is talking. About you. About Hannah 7. I did not mean to cause trouble." "You did not cause trouble." Lysa tilted her head. "You caused truth. That is different." Yuna looked at her scarred hands. "Does truth change anything?" "It changes everything." Lysa paused. "My people, the Mirith, we also suffered under the Corians. Long ago before humans. They took our outer worlds. Killed many of us. But we never spoke of it. We were afraid. Afraid of what? Afraid of making them angry again. Afraid of being attacked." Lysa's voice was quiet. "But now, watching you, I wonder. Maybe silence is not safety. Maybe silence is just a different kind of prison." They sat together until the stars appeared outside the window. The next day, Yuna finally left her room. She walked through the academy halls. Students stared, but differently than before. Some looked away in shame. Some nodded in respect. The whispers were quieter now. In the garden, she found Tarek. He sat alone on a bench, staring at the plants. He looked smaller somehow. Tired. While Yuna stopped a few meters away. She could leave. She could ignore him, but she did not. "May I sit?" she asked. Tarek looked up. His face showed surprise, then something else. "Shame, perhaps. Why would you want to sit with me?" "Because you are here. And so am I." She sat on the far end of the bench. They did not speak for a long moment. Then Tarek said, "I did not know." Yuna waited. About Hannah 7. About what really happened. His voice was rough. "My father told me stories. He said humans attacked first. He said the colony was a military base. He said everything was justified. And now?" Tarek shook his head slowly. "Now I do not know what to believe. I searched the records last night. Human records. Independent records. They all say the same thing. Hannah 7 was a farming colony. No weapons. No soldiers. Just people." He looked at his hands. "My father killed 12,000 innocent people. And he told me he was a hero." Yuna said nothing. What could she say? "I am sorry." Tarek's voice cracked. "I know that means nothing. I know words cannot fix anything. But I am sorry." Yuna looked at him. At this young Corian who had mocked her for weeks. Who had called her weak and cowardly. Now he sat before her, broken by truth. "Your father made choices," she said finally. "You are not your father." But I defended him. I believed him. You believed what you were taught. That is not the same as choosing to do evil. Tarek was quiet for a long time. When he spoke again, his voice was barely a whisper. "What do I do now? How do I live with this?" Yuna thought about the question. She had asked herself the same thing for 6 years. "You remember," she said. "You carry the truth with you. You do not hide from it. That is all. That is everything." Yuna looked at the plants around them, growing slowly toward the light. The dead do not ask for revenge. They only ask to be remembered, to not be forgotten. Tarek nodded slowly. Tears ran down his scaled face. They sat together in the garden, two survivors of the same war. Not friends, not enemies, just two people learning to carry the weight of history. When Yuna finally stood to leave, Tarek spoke one more time. I am going to talk to my father. I am going to ask him the truth. Yuna paused. He may not want to answer. I know. Tarek's jaw tightened. But I need to ask anyway. Yuna nodded. She understood. Sometimes the questions were more important than the answers. She walked back to her room as the station lights dimmed for night cycle. Behind her, Tarek remained on the bench, staring at stars he could not see. Both of them carried scars that night. Some were visible, some were not. But for the first time, neither of them carried them alone. 1 week after Yuna removed her armor, Instructor Veth resigned from his position. The official statement said he was taking time for personal reflection. But everyone knew the truth. He could not face the students anymore. He could not teach about unity while Yuna's scars told a different story. The academy changed after that. The uniform mandate was quietly removed. A new notice appeared on every screen. Cultural attire and personal expression are welcome at the academy. Unity means accepting differences, not erasing them. Small words. But Yuna knew they meant something. Other human students began to change too. A young man named Keo Junsu approached her in the dining hall one day. He had been avoiding her for weeks, afraid of trouble. I served on Colony Myra 3, he said quietly. The Koreans attacked there too. I was a child. I saw things. He rolled up his sleeve. A thin scar ran from his wrist to his elbow. I hid it because I thought peace meant forgetting. Yuna looked at his scar, then at his face. Peace is not forgetting, she said. Peace is remembering and choosing to move forward anyway. Junsu nodded. Tears filled his eyes, but he smiled. More stories came after that. Human students shared their histories. Parents lost. Homes destroyed. Childhood stolen. They had all been carrying their pain in silence. Yuna had given them permission to speak. The Korean students reacted in different ways. Some became defensive. They said the war was complicated, that humans had done wrong things too. They refused to look at the evidence, but others, like Tarek, began asking questions. Tarek confronted his father through a video call. Yuna was not there, but she heard about it later. The whole academy heard about it. General Varath denied everything at first. He called his son weak. He said human propaganda had poisoned his mind, but Tarek had prepared. He showed his father the records, the dates, the names of the dead, the photographs of burned children. You told me they were soldiers, Tarek said. You told me it was necessary. General Varath went silent. The call ended. The recording leaked somehow. Maybe Tarek leaked it himself. Within days, it spread across the galactic networks. The great Korean general, hero of the empire, exposed as a liar. Other Korean families began asking their own questions. How many victories were actually massacres? How many heroes were actually killers? The Korean government issued a statement. They called the leaks propaganda. They said the past should stay in the past, but the questions did not stop. Yuna watched all of this from her room. She did not feel victory. She felt tired. Nari came to visit one evening. She looked different now, less afraid. The ambassador is pleased, Nari said. The other species are paying attention. They are listening to human stories for the first time. Is that good? It is a start. Nari sat on the bed beside Yuna. You changed things. Not through fighting. Not through politics. Just by telling the truth. Yuna shook her head. I just took off my armor. Anyone could have done it. But you did it. That is what matters. They sat in comfortable silence. Through the window, ships moved slowly across the stars. What will you do now? Nari asked. Yuna thought about the question. For 6 years, her only goal had been survival. Wake up, put on armor, get through the day. She had never thought about what came next. I do not know, she admitted. But I think I want to keep telling stories. Not just mine. All of them. Every person who died. Every child who was burned. Every family that was destroyed. That is a big task. Yes. Yuna looked at her scarred hands. But someone has to do it. A few days later, a Korean news crew arrived at the academy. They wanted to interview Yuna. The galactic public was curious about the human girl who had caused such trouble. Yuna agreed to speak. But she had conditions. The interview would be live. No editing. No cuts. The reporter was young and nervous. He set up his camera in the academy courtyard. Students gathered to watch. Lisa and Nari stood nearby. Cadet Park, the reporter began. Many Koreans feel that you are stirring up old conflicts. They say the war is over and we should focus on the future. What do you say to them? Yuna looked into the camera. Somewhere, millions of people were watching. The war is over, she said. But the wounds are not healed. You cannot heal a wound by pretending it does not exist. Some say humans are using sympathy to gain political power. I do not care about political power. I care about truth. Yuna raised her hands, showing the scars. This is not politics. This is my body. This is what happened to me. It happened to thousands of others too. It happened to thousands of others too. The reporter shifted uncomfortably. What do you want from the Korean people? Yuna was quiet for a moment. The whole galaxy waited for her answer. I do not want revenge, she said finally. Revenge would not bring back my brother. It would not bring back my home. She lowered her hands. I want acknowledgement. I want the Korean people to know what was done in their name. I want them to look at the truth and decide what kind of future they want to build. And if they refuse? Yuna shrugged slightly. Then we will keep telling our stories. Every day. Every year. Until they cannot ignore us anymore. She looked around at the students watching. Korean, Mirith, Vaughn, Human, all standing together. We are not here for war, she said. We are here so you understand. Every scar has a story. Every war has a cost. And we will never let you forget what peace actually requires. She stood up. The interview was over. As she walked away, the students began to applaud. Quietly at first. Then louder. Koreans and humans clapping together. Yuna did not look back. But she felt something change inside her. A weight she had carried for years, lifting just a little. That night, she stood in her room and looked at her armor. It sat on its stand, black and scratched and old. She had worn it like a second skin for 6 years. She reached out and touched the chestplate. Cool metal against scarred fingers. She did not need it anymore. Not because the world was safe. Not because the pain was gone. But because she had found something stronger than armor. She had found her voice. She left the armor on its stand and walked to the window. The stars stretched out before her, endless and bright. Somewhere among them, the ashes of Hana 7 still drifted. Her brother was there, in some way, watching over her. I will not forget, she whispered to the darkness. I promise. Outside, the galaxy continued to turn. Wars had ended. Peace had begun. But the work of healing was just starting, and Park Yuna, survivor of Hana 7, would be there to see it through. Not as a soldier, not as a victim, but as a witness. A voice for the voiceless. A reminder that humanity would never be silent again. She closed her eyes and, for the first time in 6 years, she was not afraid.